Technology. This is really pretty awesome nowadays. We can do all this stuff, though, I have to say.
Mhm.
And let's see if Sean's trying to log in too.
You're on camera, Paul.
Sean, all right, well, we'll call the Water Oversight Town Council Water Oversight Committee to order. And we've already done pledge allegiance and done roll call in our other meetings. So we're going to open up our discussion and action. We have capital improvement study and Zion Public Finance Water Impact Fee Study. Big Plains Board passed at 4-0. I've got issues with it, and I'm glad Rod Mills is here to answer them. So, Rod, why don't you come on up and talk to us? Tell us about it. My main issue is that we don't have any paperwork on the scope of work that's anybody's doing. We have no idea who's paying what and what the charges are in our packet. That's my issue.
So the impact fee program is guided by the state legislature. And so the Water District Board can speak to their department, but it was viewed as a resident engineering activity. And so it was done by the resident engineering district. They did review costs and estimates. I think made some additional phone calls to verify whether the pricing that was being offered by me in specific were reasonable and appropriate. And they found that we were.
What is your scope and involvement in the project?
So I'm doing, my firm is doing the capital facilities piece and also running the basic calculations for the impact. Then we will turn that over to Zion Bank to do a peer review. Essentially what they do is they compare the data and the information against the state code and verify if the data has been done in accordance with the impact fee requirements in code.
I remember having a conversation with you several months back that it doesn't seem like the city of St. George would use staff engineers to develop their own impact fee study and then have someone else review their math on it. And you agreed with that it wouldn't be appropriate for a staff engineer to do that. How is that different today? Because that's, as you know, that's been my whole thing all along.
I think the conversation wasn't specifically related to whether it's appropriate for the staff engineer to do that kind of study, but rather to make sure they can meet the requirements of the legislative mandate. Because I actually think, I don't remember what you recall about that conversation, but I think the resident engineer, be it the town, whoever is in the best position actually to do that kind of work. They know the system better than anyone else.
Well, I agree with that part, but
And from a cost perspective, it's generally significant to go that route. It doesn't represent a conflict of interest of any kind. It's working for the client that needs the product.
Until you go to court.
Huh?
Until you go to court.
So you go to court with what?
Someone that doesn't agree with your numbers and they want to slice and dice where the numbers came from.
Then we all end up going to court together. Right?
Yeah.
So it's still not a conflict of interest. Because you're all going to court on the same side. Your engineer is not going to say, oh, yeah, no, yeah, oh, what? We should get sued for that. Yeah, that's not. That's not how that plays. You got your partner who's doing the work, accountable for the work. There is no conflict of interest.
Can you flip that screen over to Sean? See if he's, Sean, are you,
Yes, I'm on, and it's a little hard to hear Rod from the background.
Talking about money falling out of the machine.
So Rod's basically saying there's no conflict of interest with him doing, it sounds to me like he's doing the impact fee study for the district, and then Zions Bank is going to review the map.
So Mayor, what I would say is the town or a district does have the ability to use their staff to do the study. That is allowed under the law. They'd have to certify, obviously, that the study is correct. What has gone on in the past may concern you on what the impact fees, if they're correct, if they've been set correctly. And that's why you may want to use the same engineering firm that's checking the numbers for the town. Now, so is your question whether if there's a conflict? No, technically under the law, you can use your town staff to do that, or your district staff to do that. But I know there's been concern in the past on whether those impact fee numbers are correct. What we do in St. George, obviously, is we use the same firm to review all of our impact fees at once. And that is helpful for them because they know all of the different departments and what they're doing. So when there's anything that dovetails, a project for a road that might include water and those types of things, they're all taken into account at the same time, which you might get that benefit from having someone review the towns and the districts at the same time. The same person.
Questions or comments about it?
What did you estimate the cost to be, Rod, on that, on your aspect, on your side?
Yeah, have 5,000.
Okay, and now if we went outside to another engineering company, it could be anywhere from 25 to 50. Right?
Well, because facilities planning, somebody starting from ground zero. In our case, because the capital facilities plans are unpublished, and I explained to the board why that is. We went after funding, I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we didn't get the funding. So the master planning work, the capital facilities work that was done by the board at that time was never actually put into a published document. So it's essentially still just a staff discussion. And so I took that information and put it into a capital facilities plan.
What was the reason we didn't get the funding, you know?
Yes, there were problems
Oh, okay.
with the politics
Oh, okay.
and the agency was having trouble.
All right, well, let's make a motion. How you guys see how you, I guess, if the discussion's over, you guys have anything else to discuss? Denny, I trust your, you're the money guy. I mean, are you feeling good about this? Or?
I've looked at it a little bit more, but with his fee plus Diane's fee is roughly 9,000 total.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere approaching 10K.
Okay, total with
They're
both sides.
They're,
Right.
they're two separate pieces. Yeah.
Okay, and
But I
that's
think the total is going to be somewhere around 10.
and that's a lot less than if we would have went outside and got somebody else by.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear from Sean if he knows how much they pay for their annual.
Oh, yeah, but it's, there's 9-day difference, not 9-day
Well,
difference in the
okay, but
facility.
it's an annual review. They're not
Yes.
actually doing the study.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is
What
it's,
the review is. Just out of curiosity,
yeah.
you know.
So
Oh, okay.
I think it looks like it's, yeah, his eyelashes are moving. You can barely hear us, but.
Hey, Mayor, I do have one question, and that is, just to be clear, because it's kind of hard to hear on my end, this would include both the capital facilities plan and the impact fee study?
That's what he's
So
saying,
the
but
capital facilities plan is embedded in the impact fee study as it stands. But there is separate mapping showing what capital facilities are on the docket for this cycle. And speaking with Zions about it, I was actually projecting capital facilities out to 2060. And that's fine. You can master plan out as far as you think the crystal ball will let you go. But as far as impact fees, because of the limits on when those are expended, it's more appropriate to just apply the capital facilities that are 10 years or earlier in terms of what you actually intend to build. So the capital facilities piece of the impact fee study that will actually govern the calculation of the impact fee itself is essentially a 10-year. We did a 10-year, to 2060, a 40-year, and a full built-out capital program. Just again, it gets unclear as you go further out, but you do the best you can.
Sean, the other issue I have with this at this time is that we have absolutely no paperwork that says what they're going to do. We're saying yes to spending 10 grand with absolutely not a scope of work written down on anything that shows that there's any kind of agreement to what this would be. And, you know, a few months from now, 6 months from now, the bills are coming in. There's nothing to relate to that says, here's the scope of work, who's doing it, and what they're charging us. And it just seemed like every time we spend this kind of money, we have that kind of information in our file when we're making that decision. I just feel like I don't know how to get around it.
Well, can you put together a scope of the work that's going to take place and present it to us so we can see what we're doing?
You'll
Can we-
actually see the document before you see the scope of work.
Yeah.
Capital is essentially done. So I can share that out.
And Rod, you would have, you should have a form contract, right? That you could put that into and then we could take a look at.
Yeah, it's this is the authorization, as I understand it, was just based on the resident engineering contract.
Well, I'd like to have something in front of me to see what I'm saying yes to.
Are you guys okay to, if we,
And Mayor, I did have one, I'm sorry, it's very difficult and it's my end to hear. So Rod, I guess what I was trying to clarify is, it sounded like you had a capital facilities plan. That might be a couple years old. Were you going to update that if it's needed?
Well, it existed as essentially a workshop that was done by the district board. And so, yes, the simplest answer to that is yes, it has been updated to specifically look at what parts of that capital facilities plan need to come on quicker than other pieces. The overall capital facilities plan for total build out actually hasn't changed very much in those 2 years. There's locations for additional tanks based on balancing elevations. There is some significant transmission pipeline that are actually running parallel to the overall district boundaries to just keep status quo in terms of service, which is really the impact fee piece. We can enhance our system whenever we want, however we feel we need to. But if it's included in the impact fee study, the bar that you have to measure it against is, are you actually enhancing the system through those capital facilities, or are you just maintaining current levels? And so the answer to all that is we're maintaining current levels of service with the shorter term capital facilities that we can more clearly see and understand and estimate some of that kind of stuff. The stuff that's out much further, it's a dot on a map and a sort of a calculation for how many gallons of storage you're gonna need at that location. That's-
So Mayor, I'd recommend that you have a contract, of course, that is obviously something that would be required. But also that, Rod, when you complete the study, it would be, the capital facility plan would be dated the same date as the impact fees, so that everybody knows that it's a current capital facilities plan that was used for determining the impact fees.
Will do.
Okay, so are we talking about a motion to approve this subject to the contract based on our conversation? Or are we talking about a table item subject to receiving the contract? Do you have a recommendation, Sean?
If you feel comfortable with doing this, it would be subject to legal approval, and then we could work that out. It's obviously I would review it on behalf of the town, unclear on who
Are you okay
reviews
with
it
that?
on behalf of the district.
Well, and
Because it's another month for me.
my
so-
concern is in the past, when we've accepted certain things, there's been conflict on, well, this wasn't included or this wasn't included. And so I'm a little hesitant to say yes when I haven't seen in writing what is included and what's going to be done.
And I've been bugging them for 2 years to do this, so it's like, I don't know that we gotta rush it today, but yeah, it sounds like you want to table it. So,
I
sounds like
personally would
mine.
rather table it until I see in writing
Okay.
what I'm accepting.
All right, we'll go ahead and make a motion then, and is there any more discussion on this? Paul, you got any ideas?
No, I think it's kind of a logical thing that, we go to great pains to,
I don't know the wording on the,
Do you have a agenda you can put back up for us? Thanks.
we go to great pains to.
Capital improvements
To document things.
study.
And we have a whole full packet of stuff that we look at before we come to meeting, so that we know exactly what's going on, so yeah, it's a little bit.
so
I'll learn not to have it funny.
So we'll just table for our next meeting.
So make a motion to table item number 1, capital improvement study and designs for financial water impact fee study, BP board passed.
Second.
And vote?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks for being here to explain that. We'll just get us the contracts and we'll put on our next agenda for you.
Thanks, Rod.
So, but I appreciate you explaining in greater detail. And next item on our agenda is the conduct of member of Big Plains SSD board. So this is not sure how to make a motion on this, but I guess I'll make a motion that we, Jerry Jorgensen, so we're talking about, and Jerry Jorgensen works his butt off for the town and does a lot of good things for the community, and he had a bad day. And he apologized without me even calling him. He called 5 minutes after this slipped out of his mouth, apologizing and saying that I really messed up and so forth. And anyway, I've told him that behavior is not acceptable as a board member. We've reprimanded him, and I think that should be enough at this point. Further action will be taken if this happens again, though. So I vote that we stay with a reprimand rather than removal of Jerry Jorgensen.
Second that.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries. And on our agenda, looks like we're ready for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting of the Water Oversight.
Second.
And vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, you guys.
Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, John.